everybody, and welcome to Tea and Advice with me, Lady Badass. Now, it is so wonderful to have you all here during my fete, where we are going to be doing something very exciting this evening. I will be conducting an interview of sorts for 3 fine guests who have the opportunity to become my life companion. I will ask all of them a series of questions of which they have never heard before, and they have not had time to prepare answers to these questions. And I will use their answers and heed their advice the best, and from one of the 3, I will select a future companion for the rest of my life. Now, as you all know, I am of the highest status and the wealthiest woman in town. I do not intend to marry, but times do get lonely and companionship is needed. So I will let my guests introduce themselves before we begin our game.
Hello, I'm Cornelius Mindboggle. It's wonderful to be here tonight. I like to spend my time reciting poetry, writing poetry, and eventually I shall become a vicar and join the church.
Lovely.
Mindboggle.
Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Mindboggle. What a delight.
Yes, it's stellar to be here.
Hello, I'm Lord Henry Fitzroy, artiste, grand tour extraordinaire, and author.
Heavens, quite an accomplished man, Lord Fitzroy. Well, I look forward to learning about your many talents. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And what a rose by any other name smells so sweet. Oh, sorry, you caught me reading there. Carmichael Fox, Wentley. Excellent to make your acquaintance.
Very excellent to make your acquaintance, Mr. Fox Wentley. Now, as my audience here at the gathering may notice, I am only considering 3 men to be my companion, and to that I say, aren't you jealous? No, it is such a task to be a companion to an elderly woman such as myself, and while I have no children, I am very grateful to these 3 young men for offering their sorts to be considered to be my life companion. I thank you, good sirs, for being here today.
The pleasure is all ours, I'm sure.
The pleasure is mine.
Absolutely delighted.
Heavens, well, is it a bit warm in here, or is it just me? Why don't we move straight along to the very first question? Now, as you all know, you have not seen or heard these questions before, so I am eagerly anticipating your answers. We will start with Mr. Cornelius Mindboggle.
Yes.
Your first question is, if you were a tree or type of wildlife, what would you be?
Oh, well, is there anything more majestic than the majestic larch? Indeed, the way the branches arch, the way the wind blows through. Wow, isn't it lovely being here with you? My, what a fine day. If only we could sit under the larch and stay, afoot with the animal and flying with the birds. Hey, I think that was some words of love's me herds. Is it Cupid with his bow? What is happening right now? Is it a love between 2 people? Well, if you were to understand, here's the church, and here is the steeple, and look, all the people on our wedding day. Hey!
Mr. Mindboggle, I assure you, the employment of being my companion is not to be wed. I assure you of that. However, I do see a sense of you wanting to compete with our 2 poets and literary factories here. So I will now pose you the question, Lord Fitzroy. if you were a tree or type of wildlife, what would you be?
Well, naturally, with my prowess, my sharp mind, my gorgeous hair, I would be a lion.
Heavens, that is not a form of nature that I was considering. My, how you think so creatively outside of the box.
A traveler must, my dear, a traveler must.
Heavens, thank you so much. That has left me much to ponder. And now to you, Mr. Fox Wentley. What if you were a tree or type of wildlife? What would you be?
Well, I would say out of the flora and fauna of the world, I would still be a man through and through. For I was created in perfection, and why change perfection as it is?
Dripping in confidence, I see. Although I will say a lack of creativity, but that is just my opinion. What should I know? All right, let me see. Let's move on to our next question. Very strong round, gentlemen. Very strong round. Yeah. I very often like to pass the time while in the company of friends. Now, in this scenario, for example, this evening, I'm to have a wonderful party of acquaintances coming over. So how would you suggest we are to entertain them? Let's start with you, Mr. Mindboggle.
Yes, well, you know what boggles the mind? We could bring in a show from the road, a phantasmagoria show. Yes, all of us would jump with fear and fright as people showed us, visions of things that are not there, with mirrors and smoke. Indeed, we would have a fabulous time. We would see things that are really could only come from the spirit realm. Oh, what a scary fun show. All you ladies would jump, but so would the men. We'd all jump together and feel alive finally. I mean, there's nothing really to do in this town, but there is friendship, and we could wheel in a phantasmagoria show.
What a fascinating idea. Thank you, Mr. Mindboggle. And now, Lord Fitzroy, what would you do to entertain company of the evening?
The thing I always do, I invite all of my closest friends and intellectuals over for a salon where I read my latest work, and in this case it would be The Infant Charles's Journey. I would amaze everyone with my stories of travel and beauty.
And it would not get boring.
No.
Well, if you insist. And now with you, Mr. Fox Wentley, how would you entertain a grand party?
Well, certainly one would not wish to leave their guests to their own devices, so I would say, dear Lady Badass, I would perhaps invite everyone into the lounge area, where we all take turns sharing our favorite hymnal passages from the good King James Bible.
Certainly, that perfectly describes an exciting evening for my invited guests.
If you're a priest.
Yes.
I'm to become a vicar soon.
Certainly. Well, nothing like a good Saturday evening activity but to prepare for the next morning, right? On to the next question, how about? Mr. Mindboggle, here's one for you. Here is a scenario, a very terrifying scenario, which I would ask you give me advice for. We're on our way back to town from the high street, and our carriage has struck a mud hole and has ruined all of my fine new silks and hats. What would you have me do?
Well, I would carry all of the new fineries home on foot, and of course I would stay with you first and make sure that someone was able to run for help and get us help, and you were able to go in a carriage, or I was but somehow I would transport the clothes home. And then I would wash them myself.
Mr. Cornelius, are you to tell me you are skilled in the task of laundry?
Well, growing up with 5 sisters, one knows how to get a stain out of a frock. One knows how to launder clothing.
What a heavenly handy task to have about in the duties of a companion. Very interesting. Now, what do you say to that, Lord Fitzroy?
Before I answer, I must say I find Mr. Mindboggle's response entirely pedestrian and, if I dare say, low class.
Did it blow your mind? Did it boggle the mind?
Indeed it did not, sir. But my answer may be shall. What I would do is I would use it as an opportunity to introduce romance into your life, and I should have you stripped down to your shift and run amongst the hills all the way back to your estate. That is what I should do in that situation.
That is what you would advise me do.
Indeed, well, I should go with you in case you encounter any trouble, and I might save you from it.
Well, that is perhaps has potential to be quite an exciting situation, but with great risk. I don't know if I am willing to take that. Heavens, well, let's see what Mr. Carmichael Fox has to say.
Certainly, I do agree with Lord Fitzroy's critique of Mr. Mindboggle's pedestrian answer. However, I must take the turn in critiquing Lord Fitzroy and saying his answer is actually quite rooted in barbarism. Do either of you have a staff? Are either of you capable of keeping a staff? Because that would be my answer.
Sir, I'm deeply offended by your insinuation.
I mean, I grew up in a family of 10, so we're all kind of, stuff to each other. We had...
And I, of course, have all the staff one can imagine.
Wonderful. See, exactly, dear lady. Why do it yourself if you have capable hands that are able to complete the task for you?
What if a plague strikes... Never mind, I'm not going there. I'm sorry. I'm saying,
Well,
if something horrible were to happen to... I don't know.
Oh, Mr. Mindboggle, do gather yourselves and do speak up if you wish to perturb us with ridiculous circumstances of plagues and whatnot. Could you imagine a plague striking the village where we need to stay inside for months at a time? Could you even imagine?
Certainly quite laughable. I do understand Mr. Mindboggle's query. I have had my entire staff quit upon me about 3-fold times, but luckily there's plenty who are willing to take their place. Everyone's replaceable, especially those who are of the working class.
What a crude point of view, although perhaps not exactly wrong, but also what a fun way to think about how to manipulate working class people.
Not manipulation if you're gifting them with work.
Certainly. Well, on to the next question. Let's see here. Is this our final question now? I do believe it is. For our final question, we'll start with you, Mr. Mindboggle. Would you rather have fortune or romance?
Oh, always romance. For
Tell me why.
when we pass on into the next life, we can't take our fortunes with us, can we?
No, but you can pass on your fortune to a loved one, perhaps.
Oh, yes, but, I mean, we are not like Tutankhamun. Wait, never mind. I don't know. That hasn't been I have a friend.
Mindboggle, are you having visions?
I must confess. I have visions. I don't know if they're of the future or the past, but there's a king I have had a vision of who was buried with a lot of treasure. And maybe someday I'll find it. Maybe I won't. Maybe my children will. Maybe
I hope you
people
find
already
all the
know.
fortune and romance you desire, Mr. Mindboggle.
Maybe people already know about it. Maybe Napoleon knows about it. Maybe Napoleon.
Well, the next I see Napoleon, I'll be sure to ask about a king buried with all his fortunes.
I don't know. Anyway,
Romance is your answer, then.
romance.
Very well. And what about you, Lord Fitzroy? Would you rather have fortune or romance?
Well, I am fortunate enough to be able to have both. I have a fortune, and therefore I should desire romance, though I have quite an abundance of that in my life already. I'm always looking for more.
Huh. You seem quite the lush, Lord Fitzroy. Not necessarily.
No, don't compliment me. Don't flatter me. I shall blush.
Very well. It takes pride in his many great pleasures he allows himself. And finally, Mr. Carmichael Fox, would you rather have fortune or romance?
Well, naturally, my answer is neither. For both are quite fantastical idealisms, aren't they? They very much distract one from the glories and beauties of God's green earth that are laid before us.
That is hardly comprehensible, Mr. Fox-Wentley.
Oh, I could explain further if you like.
No, actually, I would not like. I am vastly uninterested in that sentiment.
Interesting.
But thank you. Oh, well, gentlemen, I must say, if I could have your attention, this has been quite a tricky evening, for I find the three of you to be wholly unique and completely ridiculous in very different ways. However, I am excited to announce that I am most excited to invite one person to come and be my companion nevertheless, and that person shall be Lord Fitzroy.
Of course, because you have the best taste, naturally.
Well, I'm mostly intrigued by your many pompous interests, and perhaps you will introduce me to some fascinating people and serve as a form of entertainment for me.
I shall endeavour to do my best. I do know Lord Byron.
Oh, well, you see that? Well, thank you all fine gentlemen for enduring such a competition, and please join the fete. Let us all dance.
I think I shall take my leave.
Oh, well, fare you well, Mr. Mindboggle.
Do you have a copy of Fordyce's sermons?